This is Yerushalmi Peah, Daf Lamed Gimel, in the article Oz V'Harder edition, which is in the Vilna edition. Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, and we got up to the yesterday to the two dots in the art scroll, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down, and in the Vilna it is no, it's on Yud Ches Amud Beis. Actually, at the top of Yud Ches Amud Beis, mamish at the top. Okay, so it says Yerushalmi. Kasab l'zeh b'chasab b'kasab l'zeh. You wrote Shchimera wrote his property first to one person, and then another person. And kasab is lav dafka because Shchimera can also do it verbally. Pnei Moshe points out that the ksiva here must not be with a kinyan, because if it was a kinyan and the ksiva and he wrote down with a kinyan, then it would be definitely the first person's, because he was maknitz him as a true kinyan. So here it's once he gave it to one person, he can't give it to for another person. So the first person is Kona, Rabbi Bechuna, Rabbi Yochanan, Yochel Lachsabo. They both said you can't renege, and until he dies, he can keep changing his mind, giving it to different people. Hechavida. Now, what is the ramification of this? Usually, Hechavida means how does this happen? But obviously, this can happen very simply. But this is giving a nafkamina. How this would work out. If there's, I'm talking about an Eved. Rabo Rishon Vasheni Kohen. So the dying master was a Kohen. The first person to whom he gave was a Kohen. Vashlishi, so the third person, who's the second person to whom he's giving it, would be a Yisrael. Adat daita the Rab Yochel Echel B'Truma. He can eat truma because the gift to the Kohen was permanent. It's not a can't renege. Even if he and the giver was also Kohen, so manavshach. If the giver, the shechimera, survives, and this Eved goes back to his possession, so he's Eved of a Kohen. And if he dies, it's the Eved of a Kohen too, because the buck stops with the first person. So therefore, the Eved can eat the truma at this point, no matter what. Rabbi Abba Bechun Rabbi Yochanan ain't no yochel b'truma. He can't eat truma, even though his master is Kohen, but he's been given as a manashchimera to somebody who somebody's not Kohen, because the third person in this scenario is not a Kohen, so therefore he can't eat truma. Hakomodim. Everybody agrees. Shimei Rabba Rishon Yisrael. If the first master, in other words, the dying one, was Yisrael Enocha b'truma, he can't eat truma, even if the recipient is definitely a Kohen, because the kinyan is not effective. Shema Yavri, because maybe it is contingent, and he might get better. In which case, Evan never belongs to Kohen. Yotze Moshem Rav Huna said Masnisim Messiah Rabbi Abba Barchun Rabbi Yochanan. The Mishnah, or Tosefta actually, is a raya for Rabbi Barchun Rabbi Yochanan that you can renege on, keep and give the gift to somebody else. It said Bari Shekasev Daitiki. If you have a healthy person who wrote a will. V'shchimera, and a dying person, shkasa matana, who wrote a gift, chayzebo. They can renege on what they wrote. Bari shkasa daitiki, chozebo. So Gemara asks, Bari who wrote a will, he can renege. What's that? It's a proof. Sorry. Bari shkasa daitiki chozebo. The healthy person who wrote a daiti can renege. The will is not binding. Bari, even though he's still healthy. Shchimera. So the shchimera shkasa matana wrote a gift. Chosebo, he can renege. V'lo shchimera, as long as he's still shchimera, because it's still things can go because he's still a shchimera. So therefore, he can change his mind over and over again. It does say the Kamino does say give an inflection of a question. I think it's the same thing, but the inflection question is uh, Chosev Daiti Chosev of Lo to Bari. Is he still was still healthy? Well, so but Shchimira, Shchimira Shkoz Matana Chosev of Lo to Shchimira. So therefore, he can renege. All right, I'm not sure we agreed as one inflection. You can read it. I think you read it with either inflection works. But let's go on. Ezu daitike. What is this will? Why is it called a daitike? So it's like a contraction of da to hey kayem b'la mode. This should be to sustain and to stand. V'meis yidnasnu nechasim l'toini. And if he dies, then the property goes to whoever he intended. That's the daitiki. Ezi matana. What's a matana of a shchimera? Hare kon nechasei nesunin ploni matana me'achshav. All of my property is given to so and so as a gift from today, without a proper. Even he says this or writes it down without a proper kinyan. Which say kasa b'miyom, as it has to be written that it takes place effective from today. In other words, and the shchimera is not effective after death. Tzava machmas misa could be effective after death, but not man shchimera. So therefore, it has to be from today, meaning mechaim, not necessarily specifically from today, but it has to be mechaim. Yeah. Okay. Ach seit Rabbi Gurion, kasas nechasai lachua. So the sister Rabbi Gurion wrote her property to her brother. The salak to one brother. The salak achua rabba, but then the older brother came. I guess it was the first was the younger brother, the second was the older brother. Paisa, and he persuaded her. The kasva loy, and she wrote now to probably the second brother. So she was a shchimera, and she wrote she changed her mind. Well, one gift, then another gift. Asa uvda kumi Rabbi Ami. So the story came from Rabbi Ami. Omer hachim Rabbi Yochanan Choisebo. That's halacha. She can renege. Amar Rabbi Zera lo moda Rabbi Yochanan Kotzebo Mayom She'eni Yochol Lachzor Bo. So so now we see that Mayom does make a difference. Even it probably shouldn't have said. Probably we should say the Shetei Kotzebo Mayom above should be like a header for the next part. It's really out of place. Um, um, but the bottom line is that Rabbi was saying that if it says mehayom, so that means you can't even call Rabbi Yochanan can't renege because he's saying that it takes place immediately. So it's a kinyan. That means it's an effective. It's not a shchimera which takes effect from today after death, but it is or from before death and after and. The way it works normally in Shchimera, it's like mikanol haba l'mafreya. It works from, that's a Lomnish term, which means it works from here on in retroactively. That means after death, it works retroactively from the point of it was given, right? But sometimes, in this case, if he said me'ayoim, he's saying it's not after death, it's today. What do you mean it's today? It's a mana shchimera. No, it's a kinyan. So therefore, that me'ayom says Rabbi Zera, Im Rabbi Yochanan agrees you can't renege on the deal. Okay, so that's what he says. The Arzei Lomo de Rabbi Yochanan Shim Kosaba Me'ayom She'en Yochol Lachzabo Asa Rabbi Avo B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan Ein Yochol Lachzabo. Yitaka can't renege once he says Me'ayom. Asa Rabbi Law B'Shem As Rabbi Lav Shem Yochanan, Ein Yochel Achsa. He can't renege. Va'ana Rabbi Ami, and Rabbi Ami remembered that in fact that was Rabbi Yochanan made that distinction. Anar means he was illuminated by this. The Chazer Uvda, and he went back and he reversed his ruling and said that it remains by the first guy because of the lashon which he said mehayoim, because the Shemra used that lashon. Okay, says Rav Amar b'mizaka yodei. Says Mei Moshe Hadid Nina b'masnisin. That says in Mishnah Kaisel Lishlo Karka Kosher Ben Abanim of the Ksubasa, that she loses Ksuva. Tafka Mizak L'Banim Al Yodah. That's only specifically when he's Mizake the property to the children through the mother. The came to Katarte to the wife. Came to Katarte since there are two aspects here. Shu Makne Bekinian Sudar Yodah. Since he makes a kinyan with her on that she's responsible to distribute the parts of the children. The Gankos Lakarka Kosher, and she also wrote her some measure of a land. Nisratzis he bekach of the Ksubasa. She's obviously accepts the conditions, and she is moichel the rest of her Ksuba. Shmuel Amar, no, you don't have to come on to that. Even if he's not mezakeh through her, he just distributes it in front of her and gives her a piece of land. So then that is also in Bavi and Barabas, all this. Then she loses the ksuba. The Chaytani Bar Kapora. Sorry, Rabbi Yosef Amar Mikulik Ksuba Shanukan. There's a leniency of by ksuba. Now it's going on both. The Pnei Moshe says a time of tarvayukai. By other Ba'achov Lom, we don't see she'ibdu, that they lose under either circumstance. There's a leniency we have by ksuba. There's one of the leniency by ksuba. Amrai, but time of the Rabbi Yossi Chanina, the reason Rabbi Yossi Chanina applies los of davar ksuba manam asayim. It's not just by the basic ksuba of the 100 or 200 zus, depending on whether she was psula or not when they got married. Filo ksuba shel elef dinar, even the tosefes ksuba. Di mikul ksuba shorokan. So it's an interesting. Not we use the term my timer, but it's saying the rationale of Rabbi Yosef applies even if it is even to the rest of ksuba, the tosefes ksuba, not just to the basic ksuba. Halacha ches. Interesting. The Vilna, it's halacha zayin. I didn't notice this before. I wonder where we changed. This discrepancy. The arts code it's halacha ches, and in the Vilna it's halacha zayin. I don't think it's worth going back and figuring it out. Somebody writes his property to a slave. This is a few places in Shas. This the Mishnah. Somebody writes to all his property to a slave. Yatsa ben chorin. It's like a get shichur. He goes out free. Shir karka kosher. If he retains some land to himself, lo yatsa ben chorin. He doesn't go free because since he left something over, maybe he also left this person over, the Evan over. Rabbi Shimon ben Chayrin. Rabbi Shimon says no, he's free, even if he specifies retaining land. Unless he specifies a fraction, because land doesn't. Rabbi Shimon says that doesn't include the evidence. The evidence obviously goes free. But if you say I'm retaining a fraction, so then the evidence might be part of that fraction. So it says Gemara, even though we're on. We finished the card. Yeah, it's finished back. That's really not much more. Rabbi Yasser Shem Rabbi Lezer, Shir Matan Lo Klum. If he left metaltlin also, if he retained metaltlin also, because an eved, so it could be like a karka, could leave like metaltlin. There's elements of both. So also, if you leave metaltlin, retain metaltlin, lo so klum ani omer gufo shir. I say that the Eved is also part of the retention of the metaltalin. Okay, so the karka could include the Eved because an Eved is hukash karka. And metaltalin could include the Eved, and that's why the Tanakama says that the sheer karka koshu lo yatsa ben chorin and sheer metaltalin also lo yatsa ben chorin, as the Gemara says here. Sheba Maisa Livnei Rabbi Yossi Amar Sosaim Yishak Meshiv Dorim Nechochim. So this is the end of the Tosefta there, and that Rabbi Yossi praised Rabbi Shimon's position, and he said the lips should be blessed. Who responded in who said such present such significant words. So the Rabbi Yossi Paskins like Rabbi Shimon. The Bavli, however, in Gittin Daf Tesamav says that we don't paskin Rabbi Shimon, we paskin like the Tanakama.